Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the We Know Traitors podcast over here on RHAP. Hope you are doing well. Hope you are excited to talk about episodes 1 and 2 of season 3 of the Traitors Australia. After a hiatus, we are back with a brand new season of the Traitors Australia, and I am back to cover another season with you all. I am your host, the Duke of Deception, Pooya and Annabel, ready to break things down. And with me, my co-host, a legend of the Traitors Australia. Some would go as far as to say one of the best faithful to ever do it. I will say one of the best hosts to ever do it. It's the one and only Annabel, the Pharaoh of Flap Flap, back here once again. Annabel, how are you doing?
Pooya, stop it. But don't. I am so pumped up. I'm so pumped up. You know, I was nervous. I was nervous about this because I feel so invested in this franchise being a hit in Australia and it coming back and it getting its flowers. And I was nervous. You know, we're doing an all reality stars cast. A lot of them maybe not huge fans of the show ahead of time. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. Like, all of those concerns gone. I'm all in. I'm bought in. I think this is going to be great.
I had so much fun with this. I thought it was a very fun 2 episodes here. And I think when all is left said and done, I think there's so much for us to talk about. There's so many directions to go. I know we did a preview, and that's out there somewhere for people who are still interested to listen to that. It's probably in this very feed that you're checking this out on. But my God, now that I have more than just face to names and I have more action, I'm so here for this casting. I feel like the casting has worked out. I feel like the ones I remember that I was like, I don't even think they're going to be good in this game or fun in this game have been very fun, very entertaining. And I'm very excited for myself to have takes that you're like, I can't believe someone's saying that about this person. You know what I mean? Like I know, because you know them better than I do. So I'm very here for this. This is going to be a lot of fun.
And the ones that I didn't know, actually some of my favorites, like I had the opportunity to go to the launch party that Channel 10 held last week. And some of the people who I just absolutely fell in love with immediately did not see that coming. So I'm really excited to talk about those as well. Even in just some of the teasers and the press we've had, like talking to them, little interviews about how their approach to the game. Gamble, in particular, one of the Real Housewives, really, really impressed with how she was intending to approach the game. Did not see Dicko coming out as the big Dicko cheese, you could say, as an aspiring.
I don't think anyone's stringing those words together the way you just did, but go on, pop off.
Coming out as a potential strategic leader here. It's just brilliant. I'm genuinely so pumped up. I'm so pumped up.
It was phenomenal. And another headline, actually, before I get to that headline, Rob would usually do this at the start of a season. He would say, hey, if you are, new here and you don't know where to find us, if you're finding us on YouTube, we have a whole feed for you, WeKnowTraitors.com. Make sure you're subscribed for the audio version of this as well. We are going to be covering this season extensively. We're going to be trying to get interviews for you throughout the season. So stay in, stay locked, and be excited. We also will be talking a lot more Traitors down the line with other seasons coming. I know we have Ireland right around the corner, Annabel, for us. We have Celebrity UK right on the. Me and you just finished the summer. Now it's business time. And speaking of business, you've talked about some of the headlines here. I would also like to add into that mix Kirby. And how much I'm about to criticize Kirby, never thought I would be in this position.
Take it back. Take it back. I'm a Kirby apologist.
I'm sorry. Hey, as someone who, me and my wife dressed up as Kirby and Ferris for that one RHAP Halloween brand steel thing we did. We love the two of them so much. I'm gonna have to keep it a buck. I'm gonna have to do it.
Okay.
It's gonna hurt.
All right. Well, we can talk about Kirby because I think I'm trying to keep my biases aside. But I think I have. I definitely have some criticisms, but I think I feel like the edit is not necessarily being as generous with, is being very generous for some players and a little less generous for others. Before we get into the game though, should we talk about the host and like the vibe overall? Obviously this was filmed by the same production company as New Zealand, which we just watched. It was a different editing team. Did we want to maybe do some high level bits first?
Sure, because I think what's interesting about this coverage for me, unlike any other season, maybe outside of like talking with Rob on his season, you were there for the previous version of this. You were there for the season 2. We are now in season 3, a little bit different, a little bit same. What are the differences? What are the similarities? Tell us everything.
Yeah, so it's a completely different company. From what I know about, again, I've not spoken. I really wanted to be spoiler adverse with this. So I haven't really spoken to any of, outside of that launch party last week, haven't spoken to any of the contestants about the filming experience, and I haven't spoken to them about the game. I'll kind of wait, I suppose, until after all of this is done. But my understanding with previous New Zealand contestants is that this is quite a hands-off production company. You know, there's not a lot of questions or prompting in the confessionals. You're kind of given a lot of leeway to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. I would also say that it's maybe a little bit tighter as well than in our previous experiences, where it really is like one episode, one day. So I can imagine that the traitors are going to get really exhausted as we get further into the game, as they're, you know, having to film the conclave segments as well. That said, post-production, completely different teams. So the editing for New Zealand 3 is not the same as here in Australia 3. And I think that you can really see that. Like, I don't know what budget they've got here in Australia, but post-prod, like, even though it's shot in exactly the same venue, this is just looking a lot shinier, more expensive. You know, even when you think about Australian Survivor versus American Survivor, we do tend to go for like a shinier looking end product.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt like this looked more, you know, film quality than what we were getting out of New Zealand.
Oh, yeah, I think so too. And that's like no disrespect to New Zealand at all. But I mean, you are right. When you compare Australian Survivor to American Survivor, Australian Survivor, and whether it is the music or the, you know, the color, it just always does seem movie-esque. So that doesn't surprise me at all. And like, everyone pops off the screen here. I don't think I've had a person that I've considered to be a dud quite yet. And I think that is definitely not, you know, it's definitely by design. So I do see that as well.
I think the difference in hosts, I don't want to bang on about New Zealand too much or make too many comparisons, but it is a bit like the UK and the US, where they're shot back to back, very similar missions. So you can't help but make those comparisons. You know, Gretel is a hugely experienced television host and presenter. She has been doing this for decades, and it shows.
I loved what I've seen from her so far. And mind you, I'm someone who's not familiar with her game. Brand new. Yeah. I'm a new Greta fan. And it does not feel like this is someone who just freshly stepped into a role like this. This isn't like season 1 with Alan, where it was like Alan's figuring it out. I feel like Greta just kind of slipped into the role, and you'd forget, which is impressive, by the way, you'd forget that this is her first season hosting because of how much we love Roger also.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this more in our interview with her, but I think one of the criticisms that I've had of some of the other franchises is that the hosts don't have a coherent backstory. Like, who are you? Why are you here? Like, what's going on? There's no consistency in their character. Gretel is a writer. I have read her books. She's great. She wrote her whole backstory before turning up on day one so that she could have this really consistent character, so that they could weave that into the episodes. You see that right from the get-go. You know, she is someone who has had many spouses. They've all mysteriously died, as have her parents. And now all of these celebrities have turned up and they're going to mysteriously die as well. I'm not asking for it to be like detailed world building, but I'm asking for something that has some kind of, I don't want an Amazon package turning up in the middle of nowhere and no understanding of how that fits in with the wider story going on, you know? And I think she's nailed that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of lore building that we got early on with her. And again, it didn't feel out of place. It didn't feel weird. I was like for a second, I was like, what are we talking about? These ex-husbands? And I was like, I'm not even gonna question it. This is just fun. Like, I believe it was Reese who said, I thought I was gonna be the campiest thing on this season, and here comes Greta. And I was like, yep, Greta definitely stole your thunder, my friend. This is her show, and she made sure you knew that immediately.
And I even love like the little things, you know, when normally the host will grab the portrait of the person murdered and throw it and smash it on the floor. And instead she has Buddy the butler do the accidental drop. Like, it's just the little things where the twists on the traditional smash. I don't know. I'm really loving this universe that we're living in.
It's a great timeline. It's a great timeline we're in. Speaking of timelines, we have 2 episodes worth of it to get through.
All right.
So before we get anywhere, I'm going to preface, we do this every episode. I'm going to say this again here. I am about to put on the screen a graphic of everything that has happened. This graphic is for those of you who are watching the video to get a reference point on people's names, because I know there's a lot of people on the season. So things are going to get a little bit lost in the shuffle. So it's for everyone to see names and also to see who is the traitor, who has been banished, and who has been murdered. It's all on the graphic in 3, 2, 1. There we go. So as you can see, Annabelle, I've lied. There's traitor, there's murdered, there's banished, and then there is virtuous. Because tell me why and how Cam becomes our first casualty of war here.
Yeah, so we were, I don't know about you, but again, not to go too hard on the comparisons, I was anticipating that we were going to have a contestant removal straight off the bat. I do feel like this is a little bit overdone at this point. In fairness, I don't think they've really done it that much in Australia, but globally, it's a bit overdone. Shane ends up coming to the forefront as the most virtuous, has to pick somebody to be eliminated straight away, can pick herself, ends up picking Cam. What did you think about it?
It's tough. If you're Shane, I don't care. I'm picking someone else. I'm not going to be labeled as kind and then go back on and be like, you know what? They did say I'm kind, so I'm just going to keep that. Absolutely not. I'm going to take one of you out, deal with it. That being said, I didn't think picking Cam was the right choice. And I'm not saying this, let's talk strategic, because this is ridiculous. This should not be a strategic discussion. But low key, after seeing some of the things people said about her, maybe she should have not picked the quote unquote second nicest guy there, because she gets picked for being a nice person. And then she dips out the one with the next highest amount of votes. Get rid of someone who you think might be a little bit more deceptive. I don't know.
Shane doesn't think like that though, does she?
She shouldn't. I don't blame her.
I feel bad for Shane because I feel like this was such a stitch up. This is just me fan fictioning now, but I feel like Cam, beloved, people put him forward to be the most virtuous to make this decision. And I feel like someone thought, no, this is going to put them in a dodgy. We don't know what the twist is, but it could potentially be bad for them. Can we not nominate somebody more dispensable to us? And pushed Shane forward. And, we do see Shane on the outs and struggling to connect with the rest of the house. I love Shane. I loved her. She was at the launch party as well, and she was so funny. She was talking about how much harder the Traitors was because it's a game that's all about making friends. She's like, you can't just like go off and build a fire and build the shelter and focus on survival. You actually have to talk to people, and all of these people are massive weirdos. Even at the party, she had to take some de-stim time to go and like have a quiet moment alone and get away from everyone. So I can imagine like being trapped with all of these reality freaks. Not her MO. I think she was set up to fail here. And at least I don't begrudge Cam as a choice, because at least Cam is the kind of guy who, when he inevitably comes back, he's not going to be hold it against her.
No, I mean,
or come
listen,
for her, you know?
I mean, even if you wanted to, she's gone already. But that being said, I mean, Cam is also someone who, I'm sorry, is there any world where Cam comes back and anyone thinks he's a traitor? I think he just gets murdered immediately. Like, I think he is about to have an even worse experience because he wasn't even there for the first like little bit of the game. Other than that, as far as the intro goes, I quite like this. I want to quickly touch on and summarize the fact that I said this earlier. I think outside of, and I'm going to name names real quickly, outside of Tully, Cosima to an extent, and maybe Gamble, I feel like every other person got a decent amount of camera time and story time to the point where I know them all quite well and I know their motivations quite well, which is kind of nuts to say. I feel like a lot of these shows, a lot of the Traitors seasons, we will come here and be like, who's this person? And we'll have that energy going into week 5. It's week 1. I feel good and established with practically everyone on the board with the exception of those 3.
Yeah, and like I can at least tell you where Cosima sits in the house. Like I can tell you she's ride or dies with Dicko. She's part of LSD, which we need to talk about. It took me until episode 2, because I'm not a Love Island Australia watcher, to work out the difference between which one was Rachel, which one was Claudia. But then Rachel gets a huge visibility spike in episode 2, and now I know comfortably who everybody is and pretty much where they sit, which is great. Really balanced editing.
I do love that quite a bit. Okay, so do we want to just skip to our 3 traitors that have been selected here and what we think about it?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, I think that obviously for both of us being well versed with our Australian Survivor, Kirby makes absolute sense. We talked about this a little in the preseason, that the 4 people they've put here, you can see any of them getting the spot, but Kirby makes the most sense ultimately as a gamer, as a social player, more social than anything. I thought this made a lot of sense, but I also was worried, is this too much of a chalk pick here to pick Kirby? Is it too on the nose?
I was gagged when they selected Kirby as a traitor, because I, like you said, I really thought this was too obvious. I think I predicted that someone like Tully would end up being made a traitor. So she comes from a slightly more gamey show, but isn't as visible. Kirby, not only is there a massive stink on the Survivor players going into this, A, because they're the only ones who've really come from a notably cutthroat game. And B, I would say the way they move and the shared language that they have, which I do want to talk about. The fact that of all of those players, Kirby is the most well-known as a Survivor player. She's the biggest name. Her gameplay is really celebrated. She's just come off Australia versus the World, which everyone's watched. Biggest target, and then to make her a traitor as well. Bold choice.
Yeah, this to me feels like, if we're gonna do the US equivalent, is if they went with Tony as a traitor on his season as opposed to going for Carolyn. Whereas Carolyn is a good one because it's like, we know she's capable, but also who's ever gonna think it's Carolyn? Instead, it was like, oh, it's so obviously Tony, so why would they not give it to Tony? I think that's what they did here with Kirby. And obviously, up until this point, I was like, I'm not concerned. I think Kirby's going to know exactly what to do, and Kirby's going to have a good time doing it. Very social in a situation like this, especially a celebrity season. You're going to need social more than strategic. You're just going to. Little did I expect a man named Dicko is about to try and reshift the strategy portion of the Traitors, which is wild. We'll get to that. Before that, though, we're going to talk about our next two Traitors, which color me surprised. I'll be very honest with you. We see Alex, who's from the Bachelor Nation. Alex tells Greta and us that she would love to be a traitor, that this is not something you would expect to see her do, but that's exactly why she wants to be there. And you know what? Wish granted. Alex is our next traitor.
Yeah. I am so high on Alex. I'm so high on Alex. She seems incredibly charismatic. We see her in the car. She's facilitating a group conversation. We see telling everyone that she loves them, that she knows who they are. We juxtapose like her car where she's getting to know everyone and facilitating this group discussion against this other like super awkward car where they're sort of talking about cows. And she seems amazing. The way she works the room in a really natural way, like she is a normal person at a party, which again, you can contrast with how the Survivor players approach this, building relationships with people. I can see Alex going really deep.
I think so too. I think what also helps Alex is that typically with the seasons, with the casts, you're going to get compared to your show counterparts. And Kira has become so suspect so quickly that I think by proxy, it makes Alex look even better. And I have high hopes for Alex.
I love Kira so much, though.
Oh,
I can't wait till we get to the Kira portion. And I don't know. I'll come back to you next week with the Alex Kira lore, because clearly they were on the same season and Kira was pretty horrible to Alex. But I'll come back to you next week with more information about that. Alex can see her going deep. I think she's my favorite of the three traitors in terms of who I think's gonna do really well. She also doesn't have any heat on her because she's from The Bachelor.
Great franchise to hide behind, especially in the midst of, well, the housewives are cutthroat, and then the survivors are strategic, and Big Brother is Big Brother. I think she falls in a very good spot. Alvin is our other traitor. I'm loving what we're getting from Alvin. Alvin is so fun. Alvin is someone I would have never in a million years picked to be a traitor from this group. And obviously, I don't know all of them that well, but even when we previewed, I don't think Alvin was on my radar at all. So I love this pick. I think 2 out of the 3 traitors are kind of not wild cards, just unexpected, which I think is going to make for an even better season.
Yeah, he's so sweet, and he's immediately drawn into LS. Well, not immediately. He's the last one drawn into LSD. Mm-hmm. But you're right. I would have never have chosen him. I was really stuck in apparently what they were all thinking, which is it's got to be one of the twins. There's 2 of them there. Surely they pick one. No, it's Alvin. And we get less of him than Kirby and Alex early on, but we see, I think, a lot more of him, and he's very tapped in to the strategy, to the social dynamics, how people are relating to each other, who he should be cautious of, who he should be building relationships with. I think because I know this game is so much about how can you make people fall intensely in love with you in a short amount of time? I'm so far backing Alex to do a better job of that than Alvin, but I still feel pretty good about Alvin, all things considered.
Yeah, once we dive a little deeper, we can talk about the fact that Alvin is in at least 2 very key conversations that end up having big ramifications. And I think that's his social game and his trustability coming into play, allowing him to be in those spaces. But I don't necessarily think that's a good place for him to be right now, and we'll get into it. So Annabelle, how do you want to go about this? We clearly have a lot of people to talk about. We could bounce around, or we can try and go a little more sequential. Up to you.
I think we need to talk about the main storyline, which is...
let's hit the headlines.
Starting with the Queen Kong murder and the resulting fallout of that decision, which a lot of this is going to center around the main characters, really, because that is the story of week 1.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the probably one of the mainest characters here is going to be the aforementioned Kirby. Now, The reason why, so Queen Kong gets murdered. The big summary is Queen Kong was suspect of Kirby. Queen thought, I heard Kirby's jacket get touched. That's suspect. Which, you know, I've talked about the drinking water meta. If someone drinks water, that's a little suspect to me. But Queen said, I heard Kirby's jacket get touched. Kirby is a traitor. And Queen shares this intrigue with Henry, AJ, and Alvin. Okay.
And Reese.
Okay, I missed Reese there in the retelling potentially.
Yes.
So Alvin runs this conversation over to Kirby in the conclave, which then results in Kirby deciding, well, I wouldn't know about this otherwise. So like, I'm just going to want to get her off the board. And I was like, actually, I'm not kind of mad at this. I get that. What I didn't clock then, and I should have, and by episode 2, it becomes very, very clear, is that, well, you know who is implicated in all this? Alvin. Alvin is directly one of 4 people that are in that conversation. And that's not a good spot to be for Alvin, because Annabelle, and this is where I have to be a little bit critical of Kirby. Kirby decides to use this information as a way to find out if she can trust Henry and AJ, because they were both in that conversation. She knows that. So if I bring up, hey, was my name brought up by Queen, and they deny it, they're lying to my face. But if I bring it up and they're honest, at least there's honesty there. The problem I have with this is you now are, the way she went about it was, hey, did Queen say my name yesterday? Which, why are you going back to the scene of the crime? The crime was committed. Queen is gone. Why are we talking about Queen? And why are you talking about, did Queen say my name? Did someone dead mention my name? Because that makes no sense for me. Why are you doing that? I'm lost.
Yeah. All right. We do. Yeah. We need to dissect that and how culpable is Kirby in all the suspicion that comes her way there. I do want to like preempt this by saying any of my like Monday morning quarterbacking, is that the sports analogy, is not coming from the perspective that I think I would do any better. Like, if I was there, Kira would have decided she hated my guts in the first 15 minutes, and I would have spent this first 2 episodes crying hysterically while screaming at her across the table with Manaki. Like, they are all doing a better job than I would do. Yeah. Like, that, Can I go back? Can we just step back? I like taking this really slowly. Mm-hmm. Queen Kong clocks the difference in the way that the survivor players move around the house versus the love show girls, the housewives, how tonally different it is. Like that the love show girls are just there kikiing, doing whatever. The housewives are there kind of being bitchy and causing drama. And then you have these schemy survivor players. And like part of that is anti-gamer bias, but I really wanted to talk about the way they move and how obvious it is that they're using this shared language that doesn't resonate with the rest of the house. So while everybody else is behaving, again, like a relatively normal person, like a normal insane person at a party, all of the survivors talk like this. They come up to someone and they go, oh, hey, can I pull you for a 1-to-1? Or they're in the middle of a conversation, ending a conversation, and say, okay, great. I'm just actually going to go and talk to the others and just move around the house a bit. All of that is language which is completely acceptable within a survivor context. This is not a survivor context. You need to approach this like you are at a party, and to pull someone and say, can I pull you for a 1-to-1 or can we go chat, is already, they think that they're not being super gamey because they're not saying, let's be in an alliance, let's vote together. No. By saying, let's look out for one another, by saying, let's go have a chat, you and I, this is already a level of gaminess that is setting you apart from everybody else.
So I do agree with you. I think that not just because of the nature of the show, I think the way most of the franchises frame this is like one big long murder mystery, right? Like that goes across a couple of weeks. I think the fashion is a big part of that. I think the aesthetic, the motifs. So I do agree with you in that you got to treat it like you're at a dinner party. And like, you know, when a party is long enough, you might be like, yo, can I talk to you for a second? And like you pull someone to the side and talk. But I think for the most part, maybe, and this show I think is more forgiving of this than others. I do think there's a world where you can get away with just being very social out in the open with people, like being in your big groups of 5 and 6, talking with them, laughing, because a lot of people are very willing to share their intrigues and their suspicions in big groups, because most of you are on the same team. 3 of you are not. So the numbers, you can just say what you want to say. Now, obviously, a lot of people will do stuff in the shadows as well, and I do think you should do that. But the first couple of nights, I do think just stick to the big groups. It does not matter otherwise.
But it's also specifically about the acceptable language to use. Like if you needed to have a one-on-one conversation with someone, you can, but maybe instead of saying, can I pull you for a one-to-one, which is the language you're used to using in a different situation, you might say, oh my God, I haven't had a chance to talk with you yet. Like, how are you going? Let's sit down and just have a chat, you and I. Like, I want to get to know you. Do you know what the sort of language you would use at a party? And we can talk about that with Dicko and LSD later, where even though he's doing this gamey stuff, he is still relating to people without seeming like it's coming with this, he's acting on a different level that other people can't relate to. So I want to set that stage so for why Kirby's already in a situation where she's an outsider, both in the reputation, but then in the way that she's relating to people as well. So then we have the Queen Kong's murdered. You're so right, Pooya. The decision to confront AJ and Henry, rather than just, oh my God, if that ever came up, which it probably wouldn't, I had no idea Queen was targeting me. I thought Queen and I were tight. I thought Queen and I were working together. To actually confront them directly, to give them that information, crazy.
That to me, if I'm Henry or AJ, is a hallelujah moment, because I would be like, oh, my job got easier. I now know which one of the survivors is a traitor. Cool. Like, that's how I would feel. Especially then Shane gets banished. So it's like, okay, if I was trying to meta and think one of us is a traitor, guess which one I'm looking at now. I didn't love this for a couple of reasons. I think it kind of puts Alvin in a tough spot if Henry and AJ lock in and think about who was there when this was said to them. But mostly for Kirby is what I had my qualms with, because I just don't understand why, like, the whole point of you choosing to kill Queen was, let me cut this at the venom before the poison spreads, right? Let me get this out before this person says my name to multiple people and more people. He has said the name to Henry, AJ, Alvin, and Reese. Alvin is a fellow traitor. Henry and AJ are fellow survivors who you've already had your one-on-ones with, who probably are going to want you to stick around as long as possible, because if you leave, they also leave. Like, or you're the safety net and you can be gone if they think you're a traitor, whichever. Like, I think it's always incentivized for the survivors to keep each other as long as possible. We've talked about this before. So I thought there was no reason to bring this up. I think that the minute no one's looking at you or talking about Queen's suspicions, guess what? You're in the clear. But you kind of force this to come back into the dialogue now, because now Henry, we've heard by the end of episode 2 also, is like, oh, I'm building my case against Kirby. I just cannot do it right now while the votes aren't there. So already by episode 2, Henry's working on the People's Court case of Kirby versus the Faithful. So that's already not going well there.
Yeah. I can see that what she wants. Alvin basically gives her this information that Queen had Kirby's name in her mouth, and her two supposed allies, Henry and AJ, didn't tell her. And so rather than assuming she can't trust them, she wants to confront them directly and see them lie to her face. I think it would have just been enough to see if they bring it up to her the next day, and when they don't, cut them.
That's
like
it.
You are nothing to me. Instead, she confronts them, and she gets off okay with AJ's and lies to her face, but doesn't clock anything's weird. She has the same conversation with Henry, who also lies, and then clocks that was really weird. So I think, okay, I'm super critical on AJ and Henry for lying about this. She basically says it to them like, were you in a conversation in the pool room with the dagger, with these other people, and Queen Kong said this exact line? Like that's details. That means she's been told. That means she knows. Why are you denying it at this point? What I don't give her, like, she should be able to trust that even if they aren't giving her this information, Pooya, they are self-interested enough not to clock she's a traitor and use that to go after her. So let's talk about the Henry of it all.
Yeah, because I loved what I saw from Henry here. I like that he's pieced it together. He's going to slow roll the Kirby thing, and I think that's good. I agree with you wholeheartedly for both of them. The minute someone comes up to me and says, hey, last night at 10 p.m., did you get a text that said, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Why did you put spyware on my computer? Yes, I did get that text. Like, I'm going to just say that at that point because you know a little too much. That's not just coincidence. You know something. Because I think there's so many quick ways you could have been like, oh my God, oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was so weird. She like came up to us and it was me, it was AJ, Alvin was also there. I think like 3 other people. Like I would lie and like add more people to it, just to like really emphasize that I don't remember and be like, and he said something about like, he thought like he heard someone tap your shoulder, which like kind of dumb. I don't even think that's a real thing. Whatever, it's fine. So yeah, I think that's the direction I would have taken.
I would have told you, but I forgot because honestly, no one took it seriously. Like, you just reiterate that you trust that person and then take that information because Henry has taken it and he's connected the dots that this makes Kirby a traitor. Great. If he didn't deny it in this situation, he could have instead said, oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. I just forgot because it wasn't So who told you about that? Because you can then piece together who else was in that conversation. He can double check with AJ. AJ, what did you say to Kirby? Because from there was a very small amount of time between that conversation and them going to bed. That's when you can piece together Reese, Alvin, AJ. One of them is probably the other traitor.
Yeah, you get a 2-for-1 deal right in front of your face. Yep.
And I don't know that he's doing that.
I don't think he may not have clocked it yet, but he still can go to bed tonight and has nothing else to do for like 9 to 10 hours. So there's every bit of chance he goes, oh yeah, so let me start building my case against Kirby. So let's go back to the beginning. Kirby comes up to me and says this thing. Where did she get that from? I think he could have the epiphany moment. It's entirely possible. What's funny is there is a whole other situation that I want to talk about where 3 of the traitors get named at the round table, which is nuts, by the way.
Can we just, before we go there, I just want to say Henry targeting Kirby, the only person, like if there's no survivor player in the turret, all the survivor players are getting murdered / banished. They stick out like a sore thumb. Going after Kirby is a suicide mission. I don't blame her for thinking she can trust him not to do that. I think it's insane that we see in the next time on that he's thinking of doing that.
It's too soon.
Way too soon. Way too soon. Use her to find the others.
Yeah.
And I understand, anyway.
Well, it's use her to find the others, especially when you truly should assume and should believe that you're not going to be a murder soon on her list anyway, because she needs you potentially. But I mean, she needs you as much as you need her. But also, we just saw Kirby kill someone for having a suspicion on her. So if she kills like that, she could kill again, I guess. Like, that's the argument you could make. But I'm with you. I do prefer, I prefer the idea of, let me not play the hero. Let me just use this person to find another person. As long as my name isn't coming up, as long as no one's looking at me, right? As long as I have that safety and that benefit of the doubt, that's fine. Again, okay, you know what? I want to jump into the other stuff, but I feel like we've gone too far. We have to talk about Dicko. We have to talk about Dicko because I don't know how this man has become the beacon of strategy this season. The combination of building a group and being like, I'm just going to use discipline and loyalty to like plow through the game and just have this voting block, which we've always talked about is my biggest nightmare with this show. I don't want it to be boring or anything like that. And I think that that combined with the thing he said later about, well, getting a traitor out will just replenish that. So we don't need the traitors replenished. Rob wants to be the hero. He doesn't need to be the hero. We just need to keep notes and move forward. And this is not the Dicko I was told I was getting, Annabelle. Who is this man?
I think it is. This is the Dicko you told you were getting. Dicko, if you remember, was the host of Australian Survivor back in the day. He's not unfamiliar with strategy. And I did tell you this, yeah. And as I said, he's a bit of a Dicko swinger. Like him coming in here and strong arming, I did think he would be starting more fights. That's not the approach that he's
Seems
going for.
A lot more calm.
But what I love here is that Big Dicko Cheese has come in and is executing the Traitors Reddit 101 strategy, which is, why don't we just keep all of the traitors in? They just get replenished and let's just make a big alliance. And like, as we have discussed in the past, the fundamental problem with that is, okay, but those traitors, unless what is their active incentive to keep you in? Do you have a relationship like that? Like Kirby needs Henry as much as Henry needs Kirby. Kirby does not need Dicko. And then on top of that, the trouble with wrangling everyone to be happy with adopting this philosophy of we don't care who we vote out as long as it's not us. So let's talk LSD, loyalty, secrecy, discipline. Who's in it, Pooya? What's the vision?
Oof. I hope you have this written down because I will lose the list after we go Dicko, Rob, Kirby, and I want to say Cosima. That's the 4 I have on my list. So
Dicko has a long-standing personal relationship with Cosima, who that he was the judge on her Australian Idol season, and Rob, who he has known ostensibly since Rob was in Nappy. His vision then, Dicko's vision, is to bring in people who he suspects, or the group suspects could be traitors, because he wants traitors insulation. Again, amazing that we have a celebrity who's thinking of all of this, who's clearly done their research. I love this, right? So he's like, we bring in Tully. I don't know why. We don't get an explicit reason for that.
I assume because she's a Big Brother player.
Big Brother in Australia, though, it's not like it is in the US.
That's true.
We then get, it could be because she's an OG. We then get the twins, Josh and Luke. That's explicitly because people suspect them as them being twins, and Luke and his aggressive facial flushing.
The sweaty mess that took half his clothes off at the table after the reveal. Yes.
Baby had a hot flush. And then we've got Kirby, who we bring in because she's sitting next to Dicko at breakfast, but also I think because she's got a bit of heat. And then we later tack on Alvin, I think, just because he was in a car with Dicko as they were discussing strategy. The idea, great. The execution, like, Dicko isn't doing anything, really, to build strong, trusting relationships with anyone outside of who he has pre-existing trust with. Like, again, Kirby and Alvin have no real reason to not murder him. They only go along with the banishment because it behooves them. And then he's having deep philosophical differences over this banishment strategy with Rob, who he is close with. So I just don't think he's going to pull it off here.
No, it's too early. I think, we've talked about a group like this forming later down the line and locking down. By the first roundtable, I think there's still so many variables in the mix. There's so much mentality that hasn't been locked in. I think there's a world where Rob eases into this idea by like the 4th banishment. Once like he's done it a couple times, he's had a taste for faithful blood, he might recognize that like, oh, I need to keep in the game no matter what. But I think too many people, similar to how we talk about the show is framed as a big murder mystery, I think the other thing that happens is that we get people that come in and say, I want to be a traitor hunter. And traitor hunter doesn't mean I'm going to hit and be wrong. Traitor hunter means I'm getting the right person out of the game. And I think that some people can't help but they can't switch this off, even if it's a detriment to their game. Not saying it is to Rob's game at the moment, but just saying that that's how I see him playing.
Yeah, and I don't think I actually think that's almost equally legitimate. At least with that strategy, you look good on TV for a bit. Whereas Dicko's strategy doesn't keep him safe from murder and paints a target on his back as a ringleader. I think my prediction, spoiler alert, Dicko's getting murdered. Like, I love the idea that he tried it. I have been critical of this strategy because I don't think it works with the reality of the people that you are playing with and the way that this game works. But I love that he had a go. I shout out to my very good friend Mark Warnock, who immediately messaged me during episode 1 and was like, Dicko serving Jonathan Ross right now. It really did seem like very similar to me.
I also do not see, I think the problem is also, I don't hate this. I hate the strategy for my own personal entertainment. I don't agree with it. I think that it's doable if every variable is going your way, right? If the exact 8 people you've put together are on the same page as you, same mentality, see the game the same way, agree that I don't care whose blood I'm spilling as long as it's not us 8. Let's just whittle it down and try and figure out the traitors among us as we go. I think all of that even going right, I still disagree with where Dicko stands because he is seen as the fucking leader. And I don't think you want that ever. Doesn't matter if you're a traitor or faithful, you never want to be seen as the puppeteer of a group because guess what? People are incentivized to get rid of you just as much. So the traitors getting rid of him dismantles that. And I don't think that's a bad place for them to be because I think they will see and assume some people are going to be loose pieces now or lost in the shuffle. Where does Cosima go from here? We don't know. Where does Tully go? I don't know. I don't think that's a bad place for them to be.
I also think, and Dicko's happy to be the dick father here, and handing out the orders. I think if he is murdered, this is a potential fatal blow for Kirby because Kirby doesn't know this, but Dicko is the only thing standing
holding
in between her and this whole group of close friends, Cosima, Rob, and it seems like Chrissy Marsh know each other, are friends. Now we've got the rest of LSD in there as well with the twins. There's potentially a relationship there. There's nothing stopping them coming for Kirby. Dicko was the only thing standing and protecting her. So I do worry.
I don't love where it lands for Kirby. I like it for other people. I think Alvin can benefit from this actually to a degree. But I think for Kirby, this is going to be it's going to be tough regardless. Because so the shortlist we leave episode 2 with is Dicko, Rob, who was the other person?
Dicko, Rob, and Manaki. Do we talk about Rob or do we talk about Manaki next?
Oh my God. I think Manaki's the more fun talk. So let's go with Rob. And I'm not saying Rob is a bad talk, but there's a lot more character going on there with Manaki. Let's go Rob.
So sorry, let's go Rob. So I think Rob, I can't tell how the casuals are going to take Rob. I can't tell if this is Rob is a genius edit or people are seeing the more complex, multi-dimensional thing that I feel like I'm getting from him here because he has a lot of good instincts, but a lot of but no, not that. No, wanting to keep the shield to himself, lying about it and then outing it. Then he jumps on a Kirby slip up where Kirby apparently says we and instead of they and associates herself with the traitors. She doesn't really. It's not actually a slip up. It's actually him misinterpreting what she is saying. But of course, he's coincidentally correct because Kirby is actually a traitor. Okay, great. Now he's going around to people, including Alvin, saying that he's heard a slip up, but won't give the name, which means that he's positioning himself publicly as a threat to the traitors, but without giving him the protection of publicly saying who he suspects, which might make it too dangerous to murder him. So I feel like Rob has a lot of good natural instincts, but I don't think he's a genius mastermind. I think he's painting a big target on himself. He's delivering a lot more than I expected, and I'm happy with how he's going.
I agree. And I like that quite a bit for and from Rob. I think that Rob for me is like someone crammed the show before they got on. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's some ideas there, but they're not fully cooked. And I think the problem with someone like Rob is you leave him in the game long enough, he's gonna figure it out. I think he's gonna figure it out real quick. Now he clearly wants to be the traitor hunter. He clearly was affected by the banishment of one Shane Gould. So the question then becomes, where does Rob go from here? Because if Dicko leaves and Rob fully pushes the campaign against Kirby, I mean, goodbye, Rob. Like, I don't see you surviving more than 2 more cycles, or you shouldn't, quite frankly. The minute you don't have a shield, they just get rid of you because you're a good detective. So I don't know. I also think I could see a world where he gets perceived as the next in line to take over the Dicko throne. And that's also not an ideal spot potentially to be in. It just depends on how he wants to play the game moving forward from there without Dicko.
Yeah. And you know, if we combine Rob's fake slip-up evidence with Henry's car chat Queen Kong evidence with Manaki's scene of the crime evidence, do we triangulate and have Kirby straight in the middle? Things start to get worrying for her.
Can we quickly talk about the slip-up moment? Because that was not a good moment. That was a pretty bad moment, all things considered, for Kirby, where they're coming. So the challenge, it was a true or false mission where all the questions were answered ahead of time by the traitors.
Yeah.
And then if you predict what answer they gave correctly, you get the money in the pot. Not much else to talk about, honestly, beyond that summary. But the one thing that stuck out was at the very end of the mission, when people are starting to like walk back to load into their cars, we hear people talk about, well, the traitors could have just put in stupid answers. They didn't have to all be like accurate. What's funny is that Kirby, in response, and I feel like this is my big worry with Kirby so far. This is like 2 for 2 now, Annabelle, where I'm like, Kirby keeps answering stuff that she can just stay quiet about and not like bring it up. But Kirby was like, well, no, it's like when us, and like it was over. The we did it. It was done.
I insist. Like she was like, yeah, but us. Like this is giving us more information. I don't think that was a real slip up. I mean, again, it doesn't matter because she already has all this suspicion on her, this anti-survivor bias, and I genuinely don't think that was a real slip up, but it doesn't matter because she stumbled over her words and what she wanted to say there, and they're going to leap on it. Like, people have been banished for less, and people are looking for reasons to target her.
Yeah, I think that, we've talked about this in so many other seasons where like the slip up does not matter. More often than not, the slip up has just been faithfuls. It's just been faithfuls being dumb, not thinking, and just speaking. And I've said that should clear someone, because only faithfuls would not be careful about what they're saying because they don't care. They have nothing to hide. But I think with people already looking at Kirby, this could also further just incriminate her. Like the confirmation bias is going to go nuts with this one. So yeah, there's
all right. Let's jump to Manaki. Let's jump to Manaki because I love this.
Because we have one of the best rivalries already, and it was only been an episode when we got it, and then it just further caught fire in episode 2 with Manaki and Kira. And here's the thing with Manaki. I think Manaki is not only a very fun character, high energy, chaotic, loves to be the chaos, is very okay with the role given, but also kind of cooking a little bit, because I'm telling you, the moment where Manaki shares 6 people who could have potentially said Manaki is the drama, and 3 of them are our traitors, I was so here for that.
It's genuine evidence, right? So Manaki has a fight with our queen, Kira, because he points out that she had been inconsistent and calls her a liar, which Kira did not appreciate, and it results in a breakfast screaming match the next day. Now, everyone saw the breakfast screaming match the next day. Only 6 people were witness to that fight the previous night. And so when he is nominated by the traitors, when answering questions that night, who is the most drama, and they choose Manaki, he deduces, well, it must have been one of the witnesses because nobody else saw me stir drama. Those witnesses were Rob, Kira, Josh, Henry, Alex, Kirby, Alvin. And you can imagine that if all three of the traitors were there, of course, when they're answering those questions, they're thinking, oh, well, we all know this. Everybody knows this. No, only the 7 of you, including Manaki, knew this. And so this is actual, genuine evidence. And I'm living for this.
It's so good. It's almost a little unfortunate because I do think because of Manaki's big character here and this rivalry with Kira, this could end up not being used to its full potential. 1. 2, if it does get used to its full potential, I think they're going to stop at one of the 6 was, so we got them. Let's move on. I don't think they're going to think it's 3 of them. Like, let's just keep going down this list.
It's so dependent on Henry being able to make the connection of who was talking and who told Kirby about Queen Kong in that conversation. It all rides on Henry here. And if he can do that and say, oh, and was Alvin not also part of that? Maybe
Venn
they
diagram.
did. Yeah. So I love Manaki. I met him at the launch party last week. And when I arrived, not knowing a lot of people there, I just saw him. We've never spoken ever. Immediately felt comfortable to run up to him and scream, hey, love you, have a hug, get into it. Like, he's just the sort of person who immediately puts you at ease and you feel like you can chat to them and they're fun to be around. I have big hopes for Manaki.
I can't wait to see more. Manaki was one of the ones that I obviously didn't know, but then when you see someone from like an Aussie shore, you're like, are they really going to contribute to the show? Yes, the answer is absolutely yes. Yeah. Manaki's delivering in spades. And Manaki has, again, the most fun rivalry right now with Kira. And it all stemmed from this one moment from the first mission. Wildly enough, the mission providing us storylines, Annabelle. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought it?
The missions are great. So the mission has that storyline with the shields. Then this second mission with the questions from the traitors, so much better than the one that when we had this same mission a few months ago, because it's from the traitors, it's giving them some kind of evidence to work with. And I have been really, I'm so high. These 2 episodes were incredible. Kira and her beefs. I mean, Manaki did start that one. Rachel did not start this one. I think Kira just doesn't like Rachel's face. And every time Rachel talks, Kira has a face to make about it. I'm obsessed.
It's so funny. Yeah, Kira being willing to have toe-to-toe fights with people to the point where like Rachel is in tears at the end of the first round table because she feels attacked. And Kira's like, well, I'm not the one that started. You attacked me, actually, if that's what it is. And just as she's walking away, Rachel's just breaking down. It's very funny to me. This all stemmed from this idea that you didn't tell me your group had a shield, and then you did. And why'd you lie? Why were you lying? What was the issue there? Which, by the way, not the only person who did that, because someone else also did that. I believe, I don't remember who was it in my notes, but I don't think that's a bad reason. I think it's a bad reason to think someone's a traitor. I don't think it's an invalid reason to critique someone, because why did you lie? If you're lying, stay with the lie. Why'd you change your mind? Do not change your mind. Yeah. Stand firm in the lie you told.
Agreed. I think actually something interesting to come out of that is we just understand where people's game knowledge is at different points. People who have an understanding of the shield strategy, we see that explicitly from Henry. But then we also, there's somebody in that other group, so it's either Rob or Gamble. And I could put my money on Gamble here, who understand this too. So, people are understanding how this works.
Yeah, which, shout out to the shield strategy. Still a good thing to do.
Can we do a quick, maybe just touch on some of the characters we've not spoken about before we have to wrap up?
Yeah. What do you want?
All right. So we've not really spoken about AJ. I think he's doing okay. I mean, he has no idea. He's not putting the pieces together. He's kind of half-heartedly showmancing with Rachel, but also suspects her as a traitor, but he's not getting a lot of heat.
he's like comforting her. I was like, what a human moment for AJ. He's really he's present for her. And then he was like, I think this is fake, potentially. I actually think this might be fake more than I think it's real, but that's good for me either way, which is facts. But I did think that was funny. Absolutely thought it was funny. There was also a moment with AJ where they're all saying hello at the very beginning outside of the castle, and AJ is in the background not knowing who to talk to next while everyone else is naturally talking. And it's like AJ's kind of doing one of these and like he's not sure who to say hello to next. I did think that was pretty funny as well. I thought he's been doing decently. Henry, we've talked about extensively. I think Henry is going to be our sneaky fun survivor pick of the season, which we already knew preseason was going to be the case. Can we talk about Reese? Because Reese is practically, to me, one of our star commentators. And by that, I mean best confessionals. And I'm hoping we keep Reese as long as we can so we can get more of those.
Yeah, Reese is just an absolute star. They are one of the people who, with Manaki, are pushing back against, I guess, the idea of this big voting block, just voting people out. I think Reese is bringing us a lot of entertainment. Reese sitting there next to Kira while her and Manaki are having a fight at breakfast. Just their facials were absolutely hilarious. Tully. We didn't get a lot from Tully in episode 2.
No.
In episode 1, I thought very sympathetic edit. Superstar, in love with her, obsessed with her. Can't wait to see more.
So we've talked about Rachel a little bit now. Claudia, I think, is a very sneaky fun one for us to see. The big headline from Claudia was, I believe Claudia was the answer to she was part of the question that was like, who would you be surprised to see make it far? And they put down Claudia, something like that. And there was offense taken, and there was offense from other people and suspicion for Claudia because of that question, which I just thought was so funny.
Her and Rachel, the Love Island girlies, beefing as well. And this is what I love, like on Chrissy and Gamble, because there's not really maybe I can't speak for some of the others. Maybe it's different with maths, but like the Real Housewives is not huge in Australia in the way that it is in the US. So there's not this, like they actually there's a lot of cross-pollination between communities. So like Chrissy has a relationship with Rob. They are almost, it's like being rich and semi-celebrity in Melbourne means more than necessarily being a housewife. So unlike we get in the US season where it just becomes housewives stick with housewives, there's more of a, oh no, like Rob, I love you. I don't agree with us just voting out Shane because that's what Dicko wants. You have evidence against Kirby. Do the right thing. Bring it to the round table. And I think it's making Chrissy and Gamble really much more entertaining as players. I actually think they have a pretty decent grasp of the game. And I'm looking forward to seeing more from them.
Yeah, I think the makeup of the cast was done really well. Like, obviously, there's 4 Australian Survivor contestants, but I do think that it's a healthy mix of like 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Like, it's a good breakdown that way. And then I think, to your point, the closeness of everybody doesn't make it franchise versus franchise. It's more so personal relationship versus personal relationships. I'm very okay with that. Is there anybody else that you feel like we've not talked about that we need to get into here?
No, I just want to quickly say that I'm in love with Lawson. I just think he's so funny, and him flirting with AJ and Henry just gave me everything.
Lawson being like, I'm just going to act like the dumb model and see how far that gets me. Great strategy from him. Also pretty fun on the confessional that we got from him. I wasn't mad at that. Yeah.
No, he's great. Okay, let's do predictions and our crush picks.
Okay, I think we've already made one big prediction, and that was which traitor is going to outlast the other 2. We're both on the same page with Alex, which is a bit of a boring pick. I will say Alvin is a bit of a dark horse for me. I could see Alvin making it there, especially if Henry doesn't make that connection. I could see Alvin sneaking on by potentially and continuing that. But I do think after Kirby's very, very big on a lot of radars, there's enough crumbs there for them to connect Alvin to some crime. So that's my one worry there. Kirby, other prediction for you, Annabelle? I don't think Kirby makes it out of week 2. I'll be honest. I'll be very surprised if we're here talking about Kirby still, especially if Dicko leaves. If Dicko leaves, I just don't see how Rob is not going to want to go for glory. So,
Dicko was brought up by Alvin on night 1. He's brought up again on night 2. My prediction is a Dicko murder. I think maybe my bold prediction is, like, I just back Kirby. I back Kirby to get through one more banishment. So I don't think Kirby goes out in the next episode, but agreed, episode 4, I don't think she's getting through that. So give me Kirby for one more episode.
And I mean, we've had predictions where we've said this person doesn't make it out of week 1, week 2, and then they've been at finale. So wilder things have happened on the Traitors landscape. Yeah, we're not always right.
It's true.
And then let's see, prediction of someone who I do not think is going to be there by the end of next week. I would say, was Luke the one that was a bit of a sweaty mess of the two?
He was a
brothers?
sweaty one, yes.
I worry for Luke's longevity in this game. I think Josh literally has a confessional where he talks about how if I have to live without my brother, I'll figure it out. That to me screams Luke's not long for this world. So I wanted to put that out there. Here's a fun one. Out of Rachel and Claudia, which one do you think makes it further?
Claudia. Maybe we lose Rachel next week as another potential banishment instead of Luke. Maybe I say Rachel goes, then Kirby.
I do not think Kira's leaving in the next episode. I think her and Manaki's rivalry feels like it's a season-long affair, and I'm here for that. Okay.
Love that.
And then you wanted to go crush picks, yeah?
Well, yes. How many so to clarify, people...
Remind everybody, how do we do this?
Remind everyone, crush picks are not about who we think is hot, though that is part of it. Crush picks is about who are the most exciting players of the week. Who had our heart racing because there was exciting gameplay or it was drama. Like, who was Slay? Who was Mother? Who are we all about? Oh, and one more note, I kept forgetting to say. This is the first LGBTQIA turret we've had globally. Every single person in the turret, queer. We love it. Did they still murder the drag queen first? Yes. R.I.P.
Listen, we make history in some places and we repeat history in some others. That's what happened here.
I mean, I don't think murder the drag queen was the gay agenda. I was at the last AGM. We didn't sign off on it, but... sometimes two queens could not get through and we had to protect Queen Kirby. All right. 3 crush picks. So 2 and then your top.
Okay. Oh, you're prompting me to go first.
Yes.
Honestly, because I love the messy. Manaki, Kira, 1, 2 next to each other. Okay? That's easy. Top pick, and I love me some Kirby, but my top pick is Alex right now. And this might just be I've met someone new and I didn't know what to expect, didn't expect maybe what I'm getting, and I'm getting a lot of good potential from Alex. And I think the longevity combined with the mind, combined with the social, combined with literally sitting there and laughing as Kira gets a lot of heat and gets to freely just watch this happen, I think she's in a very good spot. She's about to watch Kirby have heat. Very good spot. Alvin could have heat. Very good spot. How can she not be my top crush pick for the week?
I love that. Yeah, I'm very similar on my base. Also, Alex, like just doing for all the reasons you said, so charismatic, playing a great game. Also, Kirby. Like, Kirby is coming in with a huge target on her back. She's having to work harder than everybody else. And yeah, like it was unnecessary to confront Henry and AJ, but it was so delicious when she did. I was like, yeah, call them out. Tell them they're shit, Kirby. Do it. Love her. Top of my crush pyramid. Oh my God. They delivered in every way that I could ask someone to deliver. They were at the center of drama. They were correctly clocking traitors. They were just absolutely everything to me this week. Give me Manaki. Give me a gay Kiwi man this year, frankly. So Manaki, we stan. Honorable mentions to Tully and Queen Kong.
All right, there we go. Okay. So Annabelle, that was everything. I think we did a good job of parsing through a lot that happened. Probably could have gone even a lot more, but we got to keep you wanting more. And more will come with us next week when we talk about episodes 3 and 4. Currently in the process of looking to try and get some exits, so be on the lookout for those if those drop. We might have an interview for you already out there, so make sure you check that out if that's already dropped. Annabelle, Until then, though, where can people find you and what other projects do you have going on currently?
You can find me over at Babes in the Conclave, where we're also covering this season. We are doing a feedback show with Camille, my colleague from season 2, later this week. So if you've got any questions about this week for Camille, you can hit us up over at Babes in the Conclave. Also, Traitors India drops next week, so we'll be covering that. What about you, Pooya?
I am currently trying to keep my promise of keeping up with 90 Day. Liana's going to be joining me this week to do that catch up, so it's going to be fun there. And then the new episode of The Pal dropped, so make sure you check that out. And talking Big Brother every week over Friday mornings over on the live feed update, and making my appearances here and there. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya. That's where I am when I am not podcasting in the streaming world. And like I said at the top here, be on the lookout. Annabel and I are about to talk Traitors Ireland. We're about to talk Celebrity Traitors UK Season 2. And obviously, when the fall hits, Traitors Canada is going to be coming your way as well. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll be back next week with some more. Sound off in the comments. Let us know your thoughts. Remember, I want to also say this again at the very end. We truly do not think we are better than any of these players. We just have the privilege of sitting behind a computer screen and talking about how we think things should go. So take care. Have a good one. See you next week. Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.